Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Abilene People, the podcast here on BigCountryHomepage.com and the KTAB Plus app on your CTV app, your streaming TV. Can we start over? Yeah. I don't like that. I don't like the way I said that. First time in 100 episodes almost, we've started over.
You've done 100 already? Wow.
Yeah, almost 100. Ready?
Yep.
All right. Hi, and welcome back to Abilene People, the podcast here on BigCountryHomepage.com and your streaming TV on the KTAB Plus app, where we talk to Abilene's most interesting people. And today it's Keith Sproles. Hi, Keith.
Hey, how are you doing, Dan?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am fantastic.
All right, Keith Sproles. Is it true that you won a cooking contest when you were 12 years old and you cooked fried rice?
That's my claim to fame. Yeah, I was in a contest. The reason I won, though, honestly, man, is the category that I was in was grains and rice. And so a lot of people did breads or whatever. I did this really bad to the bone, fried rice with shrimp and all
You were
kinds
12.
of stuff in it.
You were 12.
12, yeah, man.
Okay, so we're going to get to cooking because that's substantially what this is about. But I'd prefer to talk about eating myself. But since you're a great cook, we're going to talk about cooking. But before we get there, you were born and raised in New Orleans?
Well, I was born in New Orleans. We were there for a long time, and then we moved to Texas.
Now, do you say New Orleans or you say New Orleans?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. So did you learn to cook in New Orleans?
No, not really, but all of my family is from Louisiana, the South, so I learned to cook there. I mean, we came to Texas when I was pretty young.
And I'm curious, do you love Cajun food?
Oh, man, all day long.
Yeah.
That's really my claim to fame.
Okay.
In fact, you know, when we had the Cross-Eyed Jackalope food truck, the thing we were known for there was shrimp and grits. So,
yeah, and I want to get to the Cross-Eyed Jackalope, and I want to get to what you're doing now with the Nomad and all. But before again we get there, I'm like the world's worst. It's really not an interview; it's a conversation, and I'm the world's worst conversationalist. I'm all over the place, right? But I want to go back to you were born in New Orleans. And then you got to Texas. Did you come to Abilene, or where did you come to before Abilene?
No, we came to San Angelo first.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
And actually, I ended up in Abilene by accident, really. So.
Oh, well, that's an interesting story possibility. How did you get to Abilene by accident?
So my best friend since the 7th grade is he works for First Baptist Church, which we're going to get to how I ended up over there, actually. But I came here to visit him for the weekend. And he lived a block away on the corner up here. And
you mean a block away from the TV station?
Yeah, a block away from the TV station.
Okay, all right.
But I came here for the weekend, and the project that we were going to do in another place canceled on Saturday night before I was supposed to be there on Monday. So here I was with all my belongings in Abilene, and I was like, what am I going to do? This friend of mine, he's like, well, stay here with us for a while, just fill out what happens. And here, you know my lovely wife, so I met her, and here I am 25 years later.
Boy, meeting Paige was the best part of that accident.
The very best part. Sure.
It's funny what some people call an accident, other people call providence, no matter really what your faith is. But a lot of your story that we're getting to today is providential or accidental in a good kind of way because you've ended up with a really cool deal. And I promise we're going to get there. We're really going to get there. It's about the Nomad and your branding I see on your chef's outfit and your hat. But you did, for a while, some construction stuff. But your real love is food and cooking. And you've even taught in that industry, correct?
Yeah. I taught culinary school and restaurant management at a place in Dallas a long time ago, but for a while. Yeah, that's really been my passion. And, it's funny because – we had the food business. We've always had the food business, but construction here when I was in Abilene kind of took center stage. And when we decided we weren't going to do that anymore because of the pandemic and a lot of things, my business coach goes, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I've kind of got this app idea. And he goes, you need to do what your passion is. And he goes, I know what that is. And that really resonated with me. And I said, you're right, man. The food business for a long time has been kind of a side gig. It wasn't in the beginning of my life, but it is now. And I said, you're right, man. And it's just funny, like I said, provincial, but when we decided to do that, this whole thing has just really taken off in a lot of different ways. So.
And the food truck you had was the Cross-Eyed Jackalope.
Right.
And did you serve a lot of kind of different foods in that deal, or was it almost all Cajun?
Well, it wasn't Cajun. What we said was with the Cross-Eyed Jackalope was your favorite Southern classics jacked up.
So really, really not Cajun as much as Southern.
Yeah. The thing we were known for was shrimp and grits, but yeah, we did all kinds of Southern foods, and just like I do a what we call a Southwestern gumbo. So it's a classic gumbo base, but instead of the things that you would put into a Cajun gumbo. Instead of okra, it has nopales, has 10 different kinds of peppers in it. So, we just like to take the things that you know from the South, because that's really, I'm all about the South, and take them to like a little bit of a different level. So.
And is operating a food truck, it's a lot of work,
So, dude, I've washed dishes, and I've been an executive with a restaurant company. So I've done everything in between: a chef, dishes, delivery driver, all the things. And Paige loves to tell the story about how one night, it's about 11 o'clock at night, H-E-B had shrimp on sale for our shrimp and grits, and I really needed to get that. So 11 o'clock at night, I'm leaving the house, and I go, this is the hardest job I have ever had. And the way that I tell that, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, but if you can imagine, you take a residential, a real commercial kitchen, and then let's put that in your bathroom at your house. That's what it is, man.
Got a space challenge.
Yeah, because you can't do a lot of pre-prep. There's not a place to keep it. You've got 4 or 5 people working in there on a busy event, and it really is. Our truck was 16 by 8. It's not a lot of room with refrigerators and cooking equipment and all the things to put takeout food out.
And I'm sure that you could easily find yourself out on a location somewhere, and you're starting to prep, and you opened yet?
Oh, dude.
When you start, hey, you ready? I'm ready to get my food.
Well, and here was another thing. Legally, you have to keep all of that stored in your truck. And 2 different times we had an electrical issue, and so all the food I had gone.
Oh, wow. Man,
yeah, so
that's
a
challenge.
And I laugh a lot of times, and I hope nobody takes this wrong, but a lot of people, I'm going to open a food truck, and I just go, should do that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's easier said than done.
It really is.
Yeah. All right, so you have come to a place in your life where you're no longer doing the construction, and you're really back into cooking, but you're really cooking with a purpose. It's a whole different deal. So tell us about it, and tell us where the concept came from.
Sure. So when we decided that we were going back in the food business, we decided that we were going to rebrand from the Cross-Eyed Jackalope, and we decided to call it the Nomad. So what the Nomad is, that's our catering company, and we do pop-up events. So like we did a night in New Orleans. We recently had a thing for Valentine's Day. It was called the old Newlywed Game. It was a concept on that. So people ate food, and we had this on stage deal. And
that's fun.
And also, but when we decided that we were going to go into that full time, my best friend at First Baptist said, "Hey, listen, man, First Baptist needs somebody to cook their Wednesday night meals." And I needed a bigger commercial kitchen. And so I went to First Baptist and got to talking with them, and we made this deal that it's kind of my ministry, that I could cook for them on Wednesday nights, and I had use of that kitchen. So we started the Nomad, and we started doing these catering events and that kind of thing. And over at City Light, which is an extension of First Baptist, they had a culinary program over there that had started back in 2019, but the chef was getting ready to retire. And man, I had no intention of what happened here, but I just said, hey, I'm not looking for something full.
So wait. So this is a theme I see in your life. San Angelo, you come to Abilene, no intentions of staying, no intention of meeting Paige. You meet Paige. Here you are, and no intention of this, and boom, a whole new chapter opens up.
Yeah, and you know what, man, and I don't like to try to make things God things that aren't, but a lot of times, I really do believe in just be still and hear God. And I really think some of these things, because it really, even more so, it happened around the church. But I offered my service to them. I said, I'm not looking for something, but I would love to help y'all figure out what your next iteration of this program is. And so their chef retired, and we start kind of looking at what that looks like. And there was some ideas that got thrown around, but John Moore, who is the pastor for City Light, said, "Listen, when we were developing that, do you know about their kitchen over there?
Yeah.
Oh, it's bad. I'm probably the luckiest chef in Abilene, because
it's a big deal.
We have the nicest kitchen I've ever seen, and I've been in this business a long time. There's equipment over there. Sometimes I gotta go get online and figure out how this electronically operates, because it's not just like the old mixer that you turn the switch on, but."
But that was built with the idea of serving people.
Oh yeah,
it's not like a for-profit deal. It was from the beginning designed to help people help people.
Yeah, and I really want to tell you about that program too, because it really is a cool deal. It was started back in 1998. There was a pastor at First Baptist who had a heart for doing this. He was doing it out of City Light. He was just kind of serving people lunch, and some things happened in his life, and the church kind of rallied around him. And his name was Pastor Lyerly, and the church kind of rallied around him, and they came up with this concept of, hey, these people downtown that are and that, the word that gets used a lot is homeless. And this was really impactful in my life. They don't call them homeless there. They're neighbors. And it really changed how I look at those kind of people. It's we're all a step. We could all be a step away from that. And just because they don't necessarily have a home like we have a home, they're still our neighbors.
Yeah. You may not know, my daughter works in Dallas as a social worker, and the agency that she works with partnered with the city of Dallas, the county of Dallas, and the federal government to solve the homeless or unhoused neighbors encampments in downtown Dallas, and they've eradicated them. There are
Really?
no. Well, there's one left, and they're about to tackle it. But the story of how they're doing it is great. It's like what you're talking about, and the point is helping people, and the point is figuring out a way that you can give people dignity, because it's so easy to overlook that population. And so you've had a heart for this population for a long time. You've seen what it is for our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness, or unhoused neighbors, to feel like they're at the bottom rung of the ladder.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what this is about. That's what you're doing, right?
Yeah, well, in City Light, too, what you just said, the dignity of that is a really big, important part of what they do there, is that they want people. I mean, that facility is beautiful. And the reason that they did it that way and made it such a pretty place is because they want you to know, just because you are experiencing this down place in your life, number one, there are people that care and they want to help you. And number two, you deserve to eat a good restaurant quality meal. And that, there's another chef that does all of that for them, but he really does care. I mean, and it's important to him that he uses the best ingredients that he can, that he makes it the tastiest that he can. And when people come through their serving line, you've always heard the term soup kitchen. This is nothing like this. This is like going to any other buffet place and people serving you. And the people that are working there, they have a service heart too, and they want to make you happy. Like when there's desserts or whatever, they'll let you take all the time you want to do that. It's not like, like say a soup kitchen thing, slopping it out or whatever.
Yeah, like and so what you're doing is connected to this ministry.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So
yeah, go ahead.
That's the part that they do, and so John came up with this idea to do a social enterprise as the next iteration of their training program. And what that is, it's the Nomad is my business, but that's not called the Nomad. It's called Plates for a Purpose. And that's really what we're doing. We're going to sell plates of food in a way that you can go eat anywhere at lunch, but if you come down here, your money goes to support more than just the business that's there, more than just the Nomad. Because the Nomad gives back to City Light. So when you have lunch at Place for a Purpose, then you're helping your community. And
you're training people to do certain elements of the food business, right?
Right. So that's that. When they come up with this idea that we were going to do a social enterprise, then it really just kind of struck me. And I still want to say this one thing, but it's crazy to me because as I was younger, I never had this heart, and I never saw the need to help people. I mean, I've always been a guy that would help you if I could or whatever, but not like I'm focused on it now. And that's what this program is, because the restaurant business is a really great place that anybody can come, and it can be a very profitable job. And it's one of the coolest businesses, frankly, because there's nowhere else that I know about where you can bring in a raw product, you manufacture it, you produce it, you sell it, and you get to see the customer's reaction. Nobody else gets to do that. And so I've always loved the restaurant business for that reason. So that's what we're doing, is we're going to take people that have some kind of a barrier to employment, and we're teaching them all about the restaurant business. And it kind of occurred to me one day, I'm thinking of the people that we're helping, but, I see it now that we're kind of helping the whole community, because we've all had a bad experience at a restaurant. And it's because restaurants are under such tight restrictions on their profit margins that they have to take a guy and go, hey, man, you're going to be a waiter tonight, and they throw you in there. And we've all had that waiter. So that's what we're doing, is we're actually teaching these people how to wash dishes and do it correctly, how to prep food and do it correctly, how to serve food and do it correctly. And one of the cool things, if you've been around the restaurant business, there's always what people call the back of the house and the front of the house. There's this thing, the servers are going, the guys in the back of the house, they don't know what we do. And the back of the house guys going, those servers don't understand. But that's what we're doing, is we're teaching them both sides of that. And so the idea is, when we get someone through our program, then I can call people that I know in the local restaurant business and say, I mean, I don't have to ask, do you need an employee? You know they do. I know you need somebody. I've got a guy now who is well-trained, and you can bring them in there. And this is a new program, but the goal is that these kind of people that have come out of this program will be the kind of person that has all that knowledge. They already have the training, and they also have like their food service certificates and all that. And they can go in and start working in your restaurant. And, we're going to hope to build that passion in them. And then not only do you have an employee, but maybe somebody who can move up into management and really make a real living,
Well, there's a lot to talk about here, but one thing that strikes me is that what perfect timing, because as Abilene is experiencing this growth, and a lot of the people that are coming into Abilene are going to be eating at restaurants because they're here for 6 days or 6 weeks or 6 months, and they're not going to set up housekeeping. They're going to be looking for places where they can go eat, places where they can go get their food. Those places are probably in a crunch, needing good help.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And even more so. I mean, I see it all the time. We go out to eat, and the whole section's closed. They just don't have the people to serve them,
So the unemployed or underemployed population, you said that you guys are working with people who fit that bill. And these may be people that are coming out of prison, or maybe people
absolutely.
with learning difficulties, or people that for one reason or another, some bad breaks they've had of their own making or otherwise, have experienced difficulty getting employed. You're saying that is how would somebody who hears about it, maybe through this podcast, contact what you're doing and get involved and become somebody who's being trained?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I want to be here today, Danny. Is I want to get the word out to what we're doing, because there's a lot of people that can benefit from this. All they need to do is just call City Light Community Ministry and tell them, hey, I'm interested in the Place for a Purpose program, and they'll get the information. We'll have an interview with you and hopefully get you in there and get you training.
And they can find that phone number through First Baptist Church downtown Abilene,
or
through Dr. Google. But in post-production, Travis will put it on the screen and give us it's City Light Community Ministries. And is that plural, ministries?
Yeah, but it's City Light, just one
City Light.
They hope to be the light of the city. So.
Okay. So, all right, I want to tell you, when you told me about this, I was interested, and I got back on our friend Dr. Google, and I searched, and turns out there are models like this all over the nation. I found at least half a dozen, but the ones I found were in Vermont or Maryland or Massachusetts, real big one in Atlanta. Right. These are people who are teaching the underemployed the certain elements of the food business. I didn't find any. There may be some in Texas, but I didn't find any in Texas. So really what you're doing is this idea that John Moore had working with you to accomplish this is really kind of cutting edge, right?
Yeah, it really is, man. I mean, and John is in a unique position, because when they built that kitchen a couple of years ago, they traveled around to some of these places that you found. They actually traveled out there to see how it operated. So, the program that they had before was more of teaching them how to be a chef. And when that chef retired, it kind of has morphed into this other thing.
Not that that's not needed, but that's not where you enter.
No. No.
You don't go from underemployed to being a chef, but you could go from washing dishes to being a server to managing a shift to being a sous chef or a helper chef and becoming a chef. Is that kind of the track?
Yeah, that's absolutely.
And are you teaching all those elements?
So, yeah, we're absolutely, we're going to teach people, like say, how to wash dishes.
Do you need volunteers to eat? Because I'm just telling you, I could volunteer to eat.
Well, let me tell you, actually, that is a thing. When City Light itself is open, they're open Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And they start serving at 11, but everyone in the community is invited to eat there. And it's kind of funny.
What does a meal cost there if I want to be a part of this and I want to take my buddy Travis down there for lunch one day? What am I going to drop? $10, $20,
no,
$30?
I mean, our pricing is going to be really in line with where you would eat anywhere else. So if you're looking at getting a hamburger at Ice House, our prices are going to be the same. The only real difference is, and not to knock Ted at the Ice House by any means, one of our favorite places, but when you come to here,
shout out to the Ice House.
Yeah, I love those guys. When you come eat with us, though, your money is just serving a bigger purpose. That's what it boils down to. And what we're going to be doing for food, because we don't want to. Well, not that we don't want to step on toes, but Abilene is kind of a food desert in a lot of ways. Me as a culinarian, it's like we go other places to eat kind of certain kinds of foods. We don't have an Irish place. We don't have people that do Brazilian type steak. So that's really the focus of Plates for a Purpose too, is to do foods that you can't get all the time. And that menu will be a revolving menu. So it's a real cool opportunity for people in Abilene. And it really, like you said, with this new influx of people from the AI and all, there's a lot of people that are going to be here that want other kinds of foods that we just don't have.
It also reminds me a little bit of the first responder approach that world famous chef Jose Andre has taken with what's his deal called? I got a note in here somewhere. Yeah. And what he's doing is going in after a disaster and helping with the first need that people have, but he's doing it with really world-class food. Yeah. And we don't think about that,
No, you think throw somebody a sandwich.
Why do they? Right. Why do they need a pack of sardines and a saltine when somebody like Chef Andre comes in there and can serve really great food? What you're doing is taking a similar concept, not the same thing, but a similar concept, and saying, we want to train you to serve good food, prepare good food, cook good food, learn a job, and boom, then we launch you. So you are practicing that old ethic of equipping people and releasing them, in your case, out into the workforce.
Yeah.
And are they all pretty much find a gig? Are you seeing success yet? Can it be measured?
Well, so the program's just begin. But let me say, though, Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, but you have seen people go through these kind of programs. Oh, yeah. Do they find success? Sure. You think it's okay?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
the model works.
Yeah, the model works for sure. And frankly, even the old model, when they were teaching them to be
cooks.
Yeah, there are definitely people who are in that program, that were in that program, that now work in local restaurants. And there's one particular guy, his name is Sean, that went through the program. He got out. He went to work for Grain Theory, and he works there still. And it's really funny because him particularly, he appreciates that so much that when he's not at Grain Theory, you're going to find him over at City Light or at First Baptist. He volunteers with me at my ministry on Wednesday nights cooking for the congregation that's there. So it's kind of this revolving door thing too, in a way that, here are these people that get that training, appreciate that training, and then they learn, well, hey, someone gave back to me. Now I can give back to someone else,
Really interesting.
Yeah, it's a great thing, man.
And so when you do all of this, Keith, at some point you've got to realize, holy cow, there by the grace of God go I, in terms of we're no different. We've just had some breaks thrown our way. And I think that's one of the big things that people don't get about our unhoused neighbors, that people think, well, they're lazy. No, they're really not. Well, they're crazy. No, they're really not. Laziness and mental instability may be issues, but they're not the predominant issues. The predominant issues is really terrible things have occurred in their life, and this is where they find themselves.
That's it, man.
And you guys are cooking with them and teaching them a trade.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like you say, there is definitely the mental illness. There is definitely people that don't want better for their lives. But that's in even people that are housed and have jobs are that way.
Man, yeah,
But what we see a lot is just there's City Light in its own iteration of the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday things that they do, and it's not just food that they do there. They do a lot of other things to help in a poverty ministry in ways things that if you've not been there, you have no idea. But if you're transient in your home, even if you have a home but you're transient in it, you need a new ID. Where do you get that sent? If there's not, you don't have a regular address or whatever. So they help with those kind of things too. But it's overwhelming to me. It really is, and it really touches my heart to see how many people that have just come there for a meal and now they're volunteering there. And I have a guy right now that's going to be coming into our program. And I said, I'm out of construction, but I have so many people that over the years I've been here that say, need a little help. But I found this guy. He ended up in Abilene about a month ago, had nothing going for him. And he said, hey, where can I get a cup of coffee and something to eat? And he ended up at City Light. And he came through the door, and John, he's a beacon. He really is. But he said, hey, welcome in, man. We're glad you're here today. What's your name? Clarence. He met each other. And then the guy had a meal and he left. And so a couple of days later, he's hungry again. He comes back up and he walks through the door, and John goes, hey, Clarence, glad to see you back here. And this guy told me just over the weekend, he was helping me with a construction thing to make a little money. But he said, I'm there. He said, because I have never experienced people who really cared enough. Because that guy didn't know me from Adam. He had no reason to know my name. And when I walked back in and he said, hey, Clarence, and I'll tell you, that guy, since that happened in the month that he's been in Abilene, every day that those doors are open, that he can serve there, he's there.
Beautiful.
And working hard, too. He's a hard-working guy. Yeah.
Well, you may have just answered it, because I had a couple of questions left, and one of them was, what's your favorite part of what you're doing? What is your favorite part?
And this is not my nature, like I said earlier, but it's just, it really is seeing, and it really, I'm going to say honestly, the podcast, Abilene People, what really struck me, I want to share this story of what's going on because I want it to help people. But you said there's not other places in Texas doing that. There's a reason that it's not going everywhere, but Abilene is the place, man. I see so many people that just want to give, they want to help. And I've been experiencing that. How many, like I said, one of the problems that they have at City Light, sometimes they have too many volunteers. Who can say that? It's the people of Abilene are just such good, giving people. And even Clarence that we're talking about a moment ago, he said that. He goes, I've never been anywhere. He's actually, our first kickoff is he's from New Orleans too, so we kind of got along. But he goes, I've never been anywhere, and I've traveled around a lot. Because I've never been anywhere where people just genuinely care about you, and Abilene's that place. And so for me to see that in action, man, it's heartwarming,
I love it. Yeah, that old saying, it takes a village. I think we can say it takes Abilene.
Yeah, man.
We got something special in our city.
Special. Like I said, we told the story about how I ended up here. Cristobal, where I did grow up, San Angelo's 100 miles from here. Abilene's the last place I would have ever picked. But when I came here, I didn't have a lot going on either at that particular time. And there was just so many people that were so generous and open and, not to get all godly, but the way that people do love God in Abilene. I've been around the world too, and I've just not seen it like I see it here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love what you're doing because it's not just words. People talk about loving God and, church and religion and all that, is just kind of cheap and cheapened, I think. Well, I shouldn't say it's cheap. What I mean is it can be cheapened
for sure, man.
By just the institutionalized version of it all, the retail version of it all. You're just meeting people where they live. Okay, I ask this question of a lot of guests. We'll just end here. Not talking really about City Light Ministries and what you're doing with the Nomad, just taking a step back. You've been around Abilene for a while now. What would you like to see in Abilene over the next decade? And you can answer that question any way you want. I don't want to prejudice it by saying, man, I'd love to see a new Bass Pro Shop. Well, I got good news for you.
Yeah, we got one.
I'd like to see some AI centers being built. Well, I got good news for you. I'd like to see no potholes. I got bad news for you.
Although I met a guy the other night that was here because he sells fixing machines.
What? So
we may have a pothole fixing machine coming. Who knows? So. I don't know. That's kind of a tough question because I'm not the kind of person that just says I love where I'm at, but I do love where I'm at. So I don't know what to make Abilene better. We have a great arts community. We have a great group of people.
We do.
We have, as far as I'm concerned, we have everything that you can want food-wise on the whole. I might love to see a good Cajun food place or something like that, but I just love it here. And even as people gripe now with AI being like it is and the traffic, I still love the fact, because I've lived in the Metroplex, I've lived in big cities, LA. I can be anywhere I want. And I used to say 15 minutes. Sometimes around 5 o'clock, it may be 20 minutes anywhere in town.
Yeah, you can get caught in the rush minute.
Yeah, the rush minute. That's it, man. But
Yeah.
no, there's just not a lot that I would want to see change in Abilene. I mean, I think we're on a path that is great. You know, I hear people all the time complain, oh, the city needs to do this or that. But I think that our city government people, I think they have the best intentions at heart, and they're doing everything they can.
And maybe you're training the next great Cajun food restaurant owner already. You know, maybe it's right around the corner. All right, Keith, thanks for coming on the
good to see you, bro.
podcast, man. I really appreciate you and your lovely wife, Paige, who happens to be one of the most talented singers in all of the great panoply and stable of singers we have in this city. So I say hats off to you. Wish you the best, and we'll look maybe another conversation down the road to see how things develop.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Good to see you.
And thank you for joining us here on Abilene People. I want to give a shout out to our ace producer, Travis Corrigan, who's always making it work over there on the switcher board, making this podcast hum. And you make it hum too by tuning in every time. Remember, you can see it on bigcountryhomepage.com, and you can see it on the KTAB Plus app on your streaming TV. I'm your host, Danny Sims. We will be back with another one of Abilene's most interesting people here on Abilene People. See you next time.